The crisp autumn air bit at my cheeks, but it was nothing compared to the chilling finality that had settled in my heart. Sarah's words, sharp and cutting, still echoed in the empty space where her vibrant presence once was. "I'm not wasting my life in a barn, David. Not anymore." Her voice had been laced with a dismissive disdain as she gestured at the dilapidated cattle shed, its peeling white paint and leaning timbers a testament to years of neglect and my unfulfilled dreams. I stood there, a worn baseball cap pulled low over my eyes, watching her sleek dark SUV disappear down the long gravel driveway, kicking up dust that seemed to mock my aspirations. This farm, my grandfather's legacy, a place steeped in generations of hard work and quiet pride, had always been my future. But to her it was a prison, a symbol of a life too small for her ambitions. I'd poured years into trying to bridge the gap between her desires and my deep-rooted connection to this land. But the divide had become an unbridgeable chasm. The silence that followed her departure was deafening, broken only by the lowing of the few weary cattle I still kept. It was a silence that held not just sorrow and the sting of failure, but a simmering ember of defiance. I looked at the barn again, a structure that symbolized my shortcomings in her eyes. But in mine, a new vision began to form, hazy but resolute. This wasn't just a barn, it was the crucible of my future. This was the beginning of my fight. Don't miss a single moment of David's journey. Subscribe to the channel now and hit the notification bell to catch every chapter of this incredible story. The days blurred into a monotonous rhythm of backbreaking work and pervasive solitude. Each sunrise found me in the dusty, echoing confines of the old barn, patching rusted leaks in the corrugated roof, reinforcing sagging walls with rough-sawn lumber, and meticulously sketching new layouts on grease-stained scraps of paper. The initial surge of anger and defiant determination had gradually given way to a heavy, constant ache in my chest. Loneliness was a silent, ever-present companion, always there, subtly reminding me of the life I'd envisioned with Sarah. Evenings were the hardest. The farmhouse, once filled with her bright laughter, the warm aroma of her cooking and the soft glow of lamplight, now felt vast and empty, each creak of the old wood a reminder of her absence. I'd eat quick, often cold meals, usually just a sandwich or leftover chili, staring blankly at the television without truly seeing the flickering images. My phone, once a source of constant chatter and connection, remained stubbornly silent, a stark contrast to the stream of messages it once received. Neighbors, accustomed to seeing Sarah's car and her smiling face by my side, would offer sympathetic glances and awkward, mumbled condolences when we crossed paths at the local feed store. I'd simply nod, offer a weak, tired smile, and retreat back into the comforting yet isolating embrace of my work. The sheer physical labor was a welcome distraction, a way to channel the restless energy of my grief and frustration. But when the tools were finally put away and darkness fully enveloped the farm, the emotional weight settled, heavy and suffocating, a constant reminder of the price of my conviction. This was a lonely path, paved with sawdust, sweat, and unspoken regrets. Just when the gnawing solitude threatened to consume me whole, a hesitant knock at the main barn door startled me. I looked up, wiping sawdust from my brow to see Old Man Hemmings silhouetted against the afternoon sun. He was my grandfather's lifelong friend, a retired cattleman known throughout the county for his gruff exterior, his razor-sharp mind, and his almost legendary stubbornness. He held a well-worn thermos of coffee in one gnarled hand and a tin of what I knew were his wife's famously delicious homemade molasses cookies in the other. "Heard you're making a real go of this place, David," he grunted, his keen blue eyes scanning my crude blueprints tacked to a dusty post with an expert's critical gaze. I braced myself for a lecture, a told-you-so about the difficulties of farming, but instead he merely pulled up an overturned hay bale with a creak of his bad knee and settled in. He started pointing out flaws and offering surprisingly insightful solutions with precise, confident gestures. He spoke of feed efficiency, herd health protocols, and the ever-shifting complexities of market trends, insights gained from decades of hands-on experience in the business. His visits became increasingly frequent, at first just for a shared cup of coffee and a few well-placed pieces of advice. Then slowly, almost imperceptibly, evolving into shared work sessions, his old hands surprisingly strong and steady as he helped me lug lumber or untangle fencing wire. He never offered pity, only practical, no-nonsense guidance and the quiet wisdom of his vast experience. He saw not just a heartbroken, struggling man, but a nascent entrepreneur, a young man with a vision. His unwavering belief in me, a silent but powerful force, was a profound antidote to the echoes of Sarah's cynicism that still sometimes plagued my thoughts. With Mr. Hemmings's quiet, steadfast guidance, the old barn began its slow, arduous but unmistakable transformation. We tore down dilapidated, unsafe sections, the wood splintering under our efforts, and poured new solid concrete foundations where the old floor had crumbled. We installed more efficient, state-of-the-art feeding systems, carefully measuring and calibrating each component. The initial investment came from the last of my meager savings, a risky, terrifying gamble that kept me tossing and turning in my bed most nights. The financial strain was immense, a constant nagging pressure, and there were countless days I wondered if I was truly insane, pouring every last cent, every ounce of my energy into this colossal, uncertain undertaking. One crisp afternoon, after what felt like weeks of relentless, back-breaking labor under a relentless sun, we finally finished installing the new automated water troughs. The cattle, initially wary of the gleaming metal and the unfamiliar mechanism, cautiously approached, their large eyes curious. Soon the rhythmic, contented sounds of them drinking echoed through the newly spacious, well-lit facility. It was a small victory in the grand scheme of things, but in that moment it felt absolutely monumental, a true turning point. Mr. Hemmings, a rare smile creasing his weathered face, clapped me firmly on the back. "That's how it starts, son," he grunted, his voice gruff but warm. "One small, steady improvement at a time." As the sun began to set, casting long, triumphant shadows across the freshly painted walls and newly laid concrete, I felt a powerful flicker of genuine hope ignite within me. This wasn't just a dream anymore. It was tangible, real, solid beneath my feet. Sarah's dismissive words had undeniably driven me to this point, a catalyst for change. But now the profound satisfaction I felt was entirely my own. The barn was no longer a symbol of past failure, but a living testament to what unwavering effort, persistence, and a clear vision could truly achieve. You're halfway through this gripping story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss the dramatic conclusion of David's journey. Just as the momentum seemed to be building, a powerful wave of unforeseen challenges emerged, threatening to capsize my entire fledgling operation. A sudden, unexpected surge in feed prices, exacerbated by a drought in the Midwest, threatened to derail everything. I spent sleepless nights hunched over spreadsheets on my kitchen table, my eyes burning, trying desperately to find a way to cut costs without compromising the crucial welfare of the growing herd. My initial projections, once so optimistic, now seemed like naive fantasies. Then came the chilling news of a localized outbreak of a common bovine respiratory disease in a neighboring county, forcing strict quarantines and significantly impacting sales at the livestock auctions. The market became volatile, unpredictable, and the careful financial planning I'd meticulously crafted began to crumble before my eyes. Doubts, long dormant and suppressed, resurfaced with a vengeance, whispering insidious questions in the quiet hours of the night. Had Sarah been right all along? Was this just a foolish pipe dream, destined to collapse under the weight of an unforgiving reality? I called Mr. Hemmings, my voice tight with frustration and the gnawing edge of despair. He listened patiently, his silence a comforting presence on the other end of the line, then offered a surprisingly simple yet incredibly effective strategy for diversification and local sourcing of feed. His calm, experienced reassurance was a powerful balm to my frayed nerves. We adapted, pivoted our strategies and weathered the storm, but the experience was a stark, undeniable reminder of the unpredictable, often brutal nature of the agricultural business. It taught me that true resilience wasn't just about working harder, but about thinking smarter, adapting quickly to the unexpected, and leaning on the wisdom of those who had faced similar battles. The construction and expansion continued, drawing the curious attention of more than just my seasoned mentor. One sweltering summer afternoon, as the dust swirled around my worn boots, a sleek, modern pickup truck pulled up to the main gate. A young woman, perhaps in her late 20s, stepped out. She introduced herself as Emily Chen, an agricultural engineer with a specialization in sustainable farming practices. She had heard through the grapevine about the innovative changes I was implementing at what was once known as David's old barn. Her energy was infectious, a vibrant contrast to my own often weary demeanor, and her knowledge of modern, eco-friendly cattle management was truly impressive. She spoke passionately of rotational grazing techniques, efficient manure management for natural fertilizer, and even explored the long-term possibility of installing solar panels to power the entire facility, drastically cutting energy costs. Initially, I was hesitant, accustomed to doing things my own way, relying on instinct and Mr. Hemmings's traditional wisdom, but her ideas were not only sound, but forward-thinking, and her enthusiasm was genuinely contagious. She quickly became an invaluable part of the growing team, bringing fresh academic perspectives and a keen scientific eye for efficiency and environmental stewardship. Her vibrant presence brought a new dynamic energy to the farm, a sense of shared purpose that went beyond just me and Mr. Hemmings. The long solitary hours I used to spend alone in the barn began to feel less like a heavy burden and more like a shared, exhilarating adventure, a collaborative effort towards a brighter future. Months blurred into a full year, and what was once dismissively called the barn was now utterly unrecognizable. It stood as a modern, efficient, and impeccably clean cattle facility, a shining testament to relentless effort, smart investment, and intelligent design. Word of mouth combined with Emily's surprisingly effective online marketing efforts, her knack for social media and captivating photos of our healthy cattle began to spread far beyond the county lines. Buyers from neighboring states, initially skeptical, were genuinely impressed by the consistent quality of our cattle and the transparent, ethical, and sustainable practices we employed. Orders poured in with increasing frequency, and the facility buzzed with a vibrant, productive activity. The local agricultural society, usually slow to recognize new ventures, even featured us prominently in their annual magazine, highlighting our innovative approach to a traditional industry. It was a moment of quiet triumph, a deep satisfaction that resonated not just for me, but for Mr. Hemmings, whose unwavering faith and wisdom had been my bedrock, and for Emily, whose expertise and vision had proven crucial. I stood in the heart of the bustling facility one evening, the low, contented hum of automated feeders and the soft sounds of the cattle filling the air. It was a symphony of success, a stark, almost poetic contrast to the desolate silence and the echoes of judgment that had once defined this very place. The ambitious vision Sarah had so casually dismissed had not only come to life, but it had far surpassed anything I could have ever imagined in those dark early days. This is a story of resilience and triumph. To see how David's incredible journey concludes, make sure you're subscribed to our channel and have your notifications turned on. Life had settled into a comfortable, deeply fulfilling rhythm of sustained growth and rewarding, purposeful work. The future, once a nebulous concept clouded by uncertainty, now felt tangible, solid, and undeniably promising. I found a quiet contentment in the steady hum of progress, in the way the new facility operated like a well-oiled machine. Then, one crisp afternoon, as I was overseeing the careful loading of a large prime cattle order onto a gleaming transport truck bound for a high-end restaurant in the city, an almost impossibly familiar, sleek, dark SUV pulled slowly up the long, familiar gravel driveway. My breath hitched. Sarah. She stepped out hesitantly, dressed in stylish city clothes, a tailored blazer and polished heels that seemed starkly out of place amidst the dust and the earthy scents of the farm. Her eyes, wide with a complex mixture of curiosity and something else I couldn't quite name, swept across the gleaming new structures, the bustling activity, and the thriving, efficient operation that now stood where an old barn once crumbled. The silence between us was thick, heavy with unspoken history, the weight of years, and the sharp echoes of her final words. She looked from the main facility, now a series of interconnected modern barns with their solar panels glinting in the sun, to me, her expression unreadable, a complex blend of emotions flickering across her face. Surprise, perhaps a hint of wistfulness, even a flicker of admiration. "David," she began, her voice softer, almost tentative than I remembered it, completely lacking the sharp, dismissive edge it once held. I heard about what you've done here. It's incredible." There was a palpable hint of genuine awe in her tone, mixed with a touch of wistfulness, perhaps even regret, as her gaze lingered on the prosperous fields. I simply nodded, my hands tucked into my pockets, waiting, unsure of what else to say. She admitted her regret, the words tumbling out in a hushed confession, laced with a newfound respect for my relentless determination. She spoke briefly of her own struggles, her initial choices, and the fast-paced city life not bringing the fulfillment or happiness she had so desperately imagined. It wasn't about rekindling a romance, nor was it about winning her back. It was about acknowledging the past, a closure I hadn't realized I so deeply needed until that very moment. Our conversation was brief, polite, and surprisingly cordial, and ultimately a powerful, quiet validation of the path I had chosen, a silent testament to the growth we had both experienced, albeit separately. The barn was now officially a multi-million-dollar cattle facility, a shining beacon of modern, sustainable agriculture, not just in our county but across the entire region. The financial success was undeniable, a testament to years of tireless effort, shrewd decisions, and the willingness to adapt. But the true wealth wasn't solely measured in the impressive figures on bank statements or the burgeoning profits. It was in the strong, enduring relationships forged through shared purpose and perseverance, the quiet, unwavering mentorship of Mr. Hemmings, who, despite his declining health, still insisted on visiting most mornings for a cup of coffee and a shared, knowing, proud smile, his eyes reflecting a deep satisfaction. It was in the dynamic, indispensable partnership with Emily, whose dedication, cutting-edge innovation, and sharp business acumen had become absolutely vital to our continued growth and expansion. She wasn't just an employee or a colleague. She was a co-creator, a visionary in her own right. And it was in the growing team of dedicated local workers who now found stable, meaningful employment on the farm, their families thriving because of the opportunities we provided. Their commitment, their shared pride in the work, filled the air every day. My days were still long, often physically exhausting, from sunrise checks to late-night paperwork, but they were now filled with a deep, pervasive sense of purpose, a quiet satisfaction that resonated in my very bones. I walked through the lush green pastures, observing the healthy, contented herd, their contented grazing a soothing rhythm, and a profound sense of peace washed over me. The emotional scars from the past, once raw and painful, had faded significantly, replaced by the deep-seated strength of perseverance and the quiet joy of building something truly significant, not just for myself, but for the wider community, for the dedicated people who worked alongside me, and for the fertile land itself which now flourished under our careful, sustainable care. This was more than just a business. It was a living, breathing testament to growth in every sense of the word. Standing on the crest of the highest hill overlooking my sprawling, thriving facility, bathed in the golden, benevolent light of a setting sun, I reflected on the incredible journey that had brought me to this triumphant moment. It wasn't just about proving someone wrong. It was, more profoundly, about proving myself right. It was about taking a perceived limitation, a dismissively labeled barn, and through sheer force of will, meticulous planning, and unwavering belief, transforming it into a monument of resilience, innovation, and an unshakable vision. The sharp echoes of Sarah's words, once a constant source of searing pain and self-doubt that haunted my every step, were now distant, almost forgotten whispers, replaced by the contented sounds of healthy cattle, the low, efficient hum of modern machinery, and the vibrant, joyful laughter of my dedicated team. Mr. Hemmings, now a frail but immensely proud figure, often sat with me on the porch swing of the farmhouse, sharing vivid stories of the old days, his eyes twinkling with a shared history as he marveled at the future we had built together, piece by careful piece. Emily, now not just my business partner but a dear friend, discussed new, ambitious expansion plans with an infectious, unbridled energy, her innovative vision for sustainable agriculture aligning perfectly with mine. Our discussions were no longer about mere survival, but about growth, impact, and leaving a positive mark. This wasn't just a cattle facility. It was a living, breathing testament to overcoming adversity, to the extraordinary power of the human spirit to rebuild and innovate, and to the profound, simple truth that sometimes the greatest successes and deepest fulfillments are born from the sharpest pains and most challenging circumstances. And as the first tentative stars began to appear in the vast, boundless American sky, I knew with a quiet, undeniable certainty that this remarkable legacy, born from a humble barn and a broken heart, was only just beginning its extraordinary story, a story that would continue to unfold long after the last sunset. Thank you for watching. My ex-wife said I'm not wasting my life in a barn. Now it's $1 million cattle facility. We truly hope David's powerful story of resilience and triumph has inspired you as much as it has inspired us. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends and family who might need a dose of motivation, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel for more impactful true stories of human determination and success.